And welcome to Absolutely Famous. Boy, have we got a story for you today. In February 2016, Bulla, a stunningly beautiful province in New Zealand's west coast of the South Island, caused one of the greatest sporting upsets in the history of New Zealand interprovincial sports. They defied all odds and ended a 106-year wait, the Bulla cricket team this is, by winning the coveted Hawke Cup off holders North Canterbury. Now, for those who don't know what the Hawke Cup it is, you win that, you're the champion New Zealand Minor Association cricket side in New Zealand. And having played as a sub in one of the games, I can tell you how fiercely these games are contested and how proud it is to be a holder. To give you a bit of an example, it's probably cricket's equivalent of Marlborough winning the Ranfurly Shield rugby off Canterbury in 1973, what Bulla did to North Canterbury. Joining us are two of the absolute heroes of that game and of Bulla in general, Andrew Duncan, Troy Scanlon. Welcome, guys. Wonderful to have you on Absolutely Famous.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, John.
Andrew, can you set the scene for us? You turn up at Rangiora. Normally, in my experiences there, it's a bit of a road to bat on, so it's bloody hard to get people out. So what happened? I mean, you managed to get them out for 79.
Yeah, look, John,
It was so flat.
I forget to say you reversed the ball all over the place, Troy. But
Yeah, it wasn't flat.
just by reciting that, John, it sort of gives you goosebumps again thinking back to the day. But I guess, to be honest, the scene was probably set in the zone itself before getting to that point, and we had a really good first up win against Marlborough, which got us off to, into a good position in the zone, bearing in mind that Canterbury Countries were the holders of the zone, so you only needed to finish behind them to get a shot at the cup. And our game against Canterbury Country was washed out in Westport, and then that left us getting to Nelson, who were tied on points with us, but we'd had a superior net run rate, and so we needed to produce a positive result. Didn't have to be a win, but a draw would be enough. And we posted 547, I think. I don't even know the record prior to that for Bulla, but it was just the most miraculous performance from a Bulla batting side that I guess had really struggled over our 150 year.
We've had glimpses, but that was a bright spot.
well, it was led by you two, because Andrew, you got 150 plus, and Troy, you got a big 100 as well. So 500 and something. That's a great score. And what happened from there?
Well, I'll let Troy speak. That I think, just to round that off, I think getting to Rangiora was just our first shot at the title was so special, and then what happened from there was just there should be a movie made about it, to be fair.
Yeah, this is just a prelude. I'll send this one to Hollywood when I finish with it. So Troy, you're the captain of the side. You're heading towards you're heading in the bus, was it, or private cars to North Canterbury?
Yeah, I've been the driver of the bus for a number of years, John. I don't know why that is. Maybe I like having control. Maybe, I don't know. Skipper and van driver. It was a long trip home from Nelson, I can tell you that. I really wish I wasn't driving. I threatened the boys at Murchison. I wasn't happy, and then it was even a longer drive from Murchison back to Westport. But the boys deserved to enjoy that. Stories over the Bulla Bridge should be kept untold, so we won't go into detail. But it was a lot of fun coming home, and Peter Knowles said to me, he said, our manager, he said, just in case, we should put me down as the backup driver on the licence, just in case, the miracle does happen in Rangiora. And I thought he was on some serious drugs when he mentioned that. Because realistically, on paper, we knew we were really just, we were going there to play our best cricket and compete and try and win at all costs, because that's the brand of cricket we play, and try and be positive. But when you looked at the two teams on paper, and no disrespect to our team, we just thought we were probably, going to give a good fight and probably come off second best. But the weather certainly helped a little in that regard, and it probably evened the two sides out to a degree.
So you turn up. Did you win the toss, Troy?
No, the team weren't very happy with me. But look, I'll say history proves it was a good toss to lose. I'll still maintain that if we had bowled first on that and bowled country out for 80, we would have talked ourselves out for 50. So
Yeah.
because it was greener than your backyard, and that's probably talking about August and Westport, not January and Rangiora. It was so green, and they had to prepare the wicket like the day before because the block flooded. So it was a complete freshie. It was literally, you were playing the line and missing it by, half a metre. It was jagging that much off the deck. So actually getting 120 odd batting first was, in hindsight, it was probably, like scoring 300 on a normal day. So
Yeah. Is that the way you felt, Andrew? You batted, I think you got 30 odd of that 120.
Yeah, and I guess when we arrived at the ground, we actually go back to I remember sitting next to Troy out the front of the van, and we were discussing, oh gosh, we could be in the field for 3 days here. We're up against a country team that had former international players, a number of current Canterbury first class players, and we think, gosh, this is a massive step up for our team. And so when we got to the ground and had realised that the wicket that had been prepared was unplayable and they were producing a new one, I guess we started to believe and thought, well, this is a great result for us because it brings us back into the fixture. And so we, despite clear skies, we were unable to start the day until 3 or 4 o'clock on day one. And so the big fella lost the toss, and we were starting to think, gosh, this is going to be really hard. But we fought like all the people do in that first day, and we got through to 84 for 4. And yeah, we played and missed a hell of a lot, and we were probably a little bit lucky at times, but it just sort of set up those 3 days for us, I think, John. We were in for the fight.
And we probably learned a bit too. Looking back, they bowled their normal, real first class back of a length, hard lengths, whereas really to bring bowled and caught behind and, other dismissals, LBW into play, you had to bowl about a foot or two fuller. So we were playing and missing balls by miles from back of a length. And I remember speaking to my brothers at the change of innings, and a lot of people had travelled to come watch, and all my family were there, and they sort of said to me, Jess, what do you think about 120? And I said, I can't wait to get out there and bowl. I said, I think we're right in this, and that was genuine because I batted on it, and I knew our bowling attack, the way we'd bowled for a couple of years, would be more than capable on that deck of creating real problems.
Well, of course, you caused havoc. You got 5 for 20 odd. Troy, you led the way, as good captains do.
Quite nicely.
Yeah, exactly. So what was the feeling in the dressing room? You'd scheduled this star-studded side for 79. So was the euphoria in the changing room, or pretty calm?
No.
There wasn't really. And I think if we just go back a step to get to that point, day 2 actually again didn't start until really late in the day, and again beautiful clear skies, and there was a little patch at gully or mid on, and we were desperate to play, and they used a lot of their experience and and I will say, like, manipulating the umpire's decisions not to start, and the beauty of this whole thing is it came back to bite them in the butt because they needed more time at the end of the day. And so we didn't play until late in day 2. We got bowled out for 120, and then this big man here, really, we had them 15 for 5. And I'll tell you about euphoria. That was euphoria. And I remember the 5th wicket, a fellow by the name of Henry Shipley, who we all know well now, just absolutely creamed the ball straight back, ankle height, and the big man at 7 foot 1,000 got down and took it with one hand. Gosh, we were just, like riding the wave. And so, yeah, we got through to that night. I think they were 70-something for 7 or 8 down.
54 for 8, I think they were.
It was 54 for 8.
Yeah, something like that, 7 for 8, yeah.
But there's this eerie silence, like, oh shit, we're actually really in the fight here, aren't we?
Yeah. There was a bit of a mindset change. We'd sort of gone from rank outsiders to probably, favourites. So that brought its own pressure to a degree, I suppose, in some ways.
So a couple of beers to calm the nerves before the big day?
Yeah, we didn't change anything. We still went out and had a meal and had a couple of pints and just did the things the way we do them. Didn't probably get much sleep that night, to be fair, because we knew what lay ahead of us, but managed to take the last couple of wickets the next morning, and then we had a lead of 40 odd, was it, or 50 odd, and we had a lot of cricket left, so there was a lot, I suppose Andrew was probably going to comment on it, but the ground was probably as wet as it had been the previous, or dewy as it had been the previous 2 days, but there was no mucking around on day 3. We were starting on time, so we were into it.
Well, there's two things I was going to say, John. One was that honestly, it felt like there was 10 or 12 buses from Westport come over because the game was in balance, and honestly, we had so much support at the Main Power Oval, didn't we? Everyone was there from home, and it was such a neat feeling. And talking about tactics of the game, and those who have played at Main Power, there can be a really heavy dew there, and delayed starts are quite common. But on this occasion, they were out there warming up to start at 10:30 because they needed time in the game, and we were rolling balls past the umpire with the water spinning out. And as it was, we were underway on time, and over 100 overs left in the day, so plenty of time for various things to happen, and we had a really big challenge ahead of us.
Yeah, and we have been known, John, the Buller Shuffle, as it's called, does come into play from time to time with the bat, and there was, I suppose, a little bit of a thought of me going, I hope we don't Buller Shuffle it today, because we don't want to shuffle it, because it just wrecks all the hard work that's been done. But luckily, Michael Grafton scored 60 odd off 180 odd balls. He was the mainstay, and then a lot of guys managed to bat round him, and then the last pair batted about 80 or 90 balls between them, which was actually probably, you look at the match and there was whole lots of little things that just added to the drama, and I suppose to the overall result falling in our favour.
So who were the last pair, Troy?
Max McDonald and Clinton Harvey. I think they wore more balls than they hit.
That's an amazing effort in a game like that.
Yeah, that was what was required, and certainly in the context of the game, that was a huge moment, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. So you finally lose your wicket. I think you made 146 in the second innings, and North Canterbury, what did they need, about 190 to win?
187, was it? 187?
Yeah, of 27 overs.
Yeah.
And they finished 184 for 6. There must have been some nervous. I won't get you to tell me about the last over yet, but when you went out into the field, were you confident that you could do it?
Yeah, I think, and we were so buoyed by our support, we were really up for it. And I remember the first over, Troy, bearing in mind, he bowled throughout the innings in the first innings from one end, and did again the same in the second, so was unchanged. But the first over of that second innings was a maiden, and it just went, sort of set the scene for us that, gosh, we're up for the fight here, and we believed, and then we'll get to the last over soon.
The innings ebbed and flowed, but it went from us sort of being in front, and then Shannon Stewart sort of looked like he probably had it at his mercy to a degree, but then we chipped him out, and then we chipped Jack Boyle out, and we just sort of kept getting wickets just when we needed them, really, because a couple of times it looked like it might have been just slipping away. The wicket was still decking around just enough to make life a little bit niggly.
So did you have to change your bowling length in the second innings a little bit?
No, I still kept it pretty full.
Yeah.
Aim was to still, we still wanted to take wickets, and I think the shorter it was, the easier it was to hit, really. So, because it was quite slow by that point, it was quite dead. So keeping it full was still, with it nibbling round, was still bringing into play caught behind slips, LBW bowled. Whereas if you're a bit short, you weren't really in the game, to be honest.
No, just sat up a bit and looked at you.
Yeah.
So you're getting near the end of the game, and I'd imagine the bloody hundreds of people there watching you, and the rest of New Zealand will be cheering you on. I can guarantee that. What are you thinking? You, as captain, I mean, Jesus, you got to
every field on the boundary.
I mean, you got to keep your cool, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like I was never nervous, and obviously Andrew, we were chatting at the end of most overs and bouncing ideas off each other, and we sort of fell into a good rhythm. I just bowled from one end, and then I rotated Michael Anderson and Nick Cumming from the other end, and they did a really good job, and we sort of just when we kept taking those wickets, it sort of kept taking the pressure off us a bit, because then it felt like we were back on top again and we could apply a little bit more pressure. But in the last sort of 4 overs, I think we had just about every fielder on the boundary. Yeah, like we felt like we were right in the game, but never really home. And then I thought we were home in the last over, but then I just about proved that to be completely wrong.
So so Andrew, let's have a look back and say let's say with 2 overs to go, what was the scenario before we get to the last over?
Blue, but I know the last over because we replay this quite often, and it got to 21. They needed 21 off 6 balls, and Troy, who had it on a string for the whole weekend, and still didn't really miss by much in that last over. But the Canterbury Country skipper got the first 2 balls away for boundaries of 4, and then a pretty towering 6, to be fair. And it looked like shit. This is really in the balance now. And I remember going up to Troy. I was fielding it long on, and I was really impressed with just how calm he was. Like he still had that belief that this is ours. And so it proved to be. There was a 2 off the next ball, 2 off the 4th ball, and then a single. And it came down to them needing a 6 to retain the Hawke Cup. And Troy found the hole beautifully and just punched down to the ground for 1, and then and then it really is a blur, because it was just like, wow, what have we achieved? Yeah.
So what was your immediate feeling? I can imagine. Well, I'm only guessing.
It was a relief for me.
Yeah.
I think I said to Andy when he ran up from long on after the second ball, which I think I missed the hole by not much. The first ball was a shocker. It was the worst ball I bowled all weekend. But the second ball, I sort of just missed the hole, and Andrew Robertson probably played one of the best cricket shots I've ever seen. He sort of MS Dhoni me over sort of in front of square.
The old
axe
handle.
I didn't even look at it, and then you could hear crickets.
I'll tell you one thing, John, you'll love this. A guy that knows Pete Knowles well, he couldn't watch the last hour of cricket because he was so nervous. He's our manager, and Troy's calling for a drink, and Knowles' nowhere. Here he is out the back behind the pavilion, smoking darts, and the ball just about hits him on the head, I reckon.
It was a pretty big 6. And after that ball, that was when Andrew rang up from long on, and he said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Mate, if I lose this, I'm going to need Gilbert and Oak really quick. So I'm never going to recover from this." But yeah, luckily it came out like it had been, and the rest is history. And I can't, after the last ball, I can just remember putting my hands up in relief and then just sort of getting mobbed. And then we forgot about the ball that was trickling to long off, and everyone was running in, so we had to get that in. But yeah, no, it was a pretty special moment.
Bloody muff. And he ended up with 4 wickets in the second innings too, so 9 for the match. That's a match-winning effort, really. There's no doubt about that. So I guess what happened? Everyone got out of, or they'll already be out of their cars. People just race onto the field. There's hundreds of fans.
Got a bit of a guard of honour, didn't we? The local contingent sort of set up a bit of a guard of honour for us. And it sort of really hadn't sunk in. Really, we've sort of gone into the changing room, and I think there was a reporter from the Christchurch Press eagerly waiting to get some words, and sort of all things we're not really used to in the Buller cricket team. So no, it was an interesting, little period after that. And we went and had the trophy presentation, and then we went to KFC, and our team dietitian said we should go and get some salt into our bodies. So we went to KFC with the cup and got some chicken and had a few beers, and made the drive home.
He's also the team dietitian.
Good work. I bet you're glad that Pete Knowles was driving, Troy.
Yeah, it certainly took the pressure off.
Yeah. So what about the trip home? How good was that?
Outstanding. Can you remember?
Yeah.
I can't really remember. It was just, I don't know whether that was alcohol fueled or.
Yeah, I was sort of half sober because there was a bit of controversy after we won. It looked a bit, I suppose you'd say 50-50. We'd played Michael Grafton, and we all knew that under the current rules of Hawke Cup, he was deemed to be an illegal player. He'd lived in Westport his whole life, played for Buller for, his whole life, and he moved in the July of that year before the season started, heading to Christchurch for a job because he didn't have any work in Westport. And under the zone rules, he was allowed to legally play for us, no problems at all. But when it got to elimination matches, or the Hawke Cup matches, legally he didn't qualify. But country,
We declared it.
We'd gone to Canterbury Country and said, hey, Michael's played for us for the last 10 years. Do you have any issue? And they went, no, it should all. We know Michael's a local boy. And we'd cleared all that and they'd signed it off. And then not long after we left the ground, I got a phone call from New Zealand Cricket saying the match was being investigated.
Oh, Jesus. That could only come from headquarters. Jesus, Rick.
Yeah. And
Make
then
you
the
weep.
chairman got a phone call. But hey, it all worked out in the end. Common sense prevailed, and Canterbury Country, 100% to their credit, said, "Hey, no, we knew this was happening, and we've 100% signed this off, and those guys deserve to win." So full credit to them. They certainly backed that up. So
Yeah, they're good boys. From my experience playing against them, they're really good people from the country.
Yeah.
They're not unlike the people of Buller, country people and realists.
Yeah, 100%. So by the time I got to Reefton and got the phone call to say that we're in the clear again, I was a lot more relaxed.
Yeah. I bet you were. So, you arrived back in Westport. Were the fans waiting back there for you as well?
Yeah, the mayor was there in his chains at midnight, and
Brilliant.
We had a couple of visitors drive from Nelson, Gary McDonald and John Gully, and a number of locals that, because it was an anniversary day out the next day here, it was our public holiday, so a few people had stayed up and waited for their arrival home, so that was nice. I think got home about 4:30 in the morning and did a phone interview with Dooley and Mulligan at about 7:30. I called at 8 in the morning, so I wasn't sounding too sharp.
We also had a civic reception the next morning, and I remember the photo actually was about 10 o'clock or something, and we all had dark glasses on. Either hadn't been to sleep or there was no way we were taking our glasses off. And even that turnout, John, was really special, and one of those moments that'll certainly stay with me forever.
Yeah.
I'm sure the same for Troy, but yeah, just a really special way to cap off a remarkable piece of history.
Well, it is to me. Do you agree it's the equivalent of Marlborough beating Canterbury for the Ranfurly Shield? Because, once those boys had done that, they were famous forever. Whatever happened in their lives, it changed all of their lives in a good way.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about, like 11 guys that hadn't played any first-class cricket. 12 had been termed by a couple of people as a bunch of village cricketers, and here we were taking on, arguably close to a first-class team in itself. So, yeah, it was a massive upset, absolutely massive upset.
They would have enjoyed your typical warm-up, like kicking a ball around and a few catches and into it, like we used to do.
We didn't really. Yeah, the motto was we weren't changing anything. Yeah, we just kept the same philosophy. I think in one of those stories, Peter Knowles said he was shocked by the lack of warm-up kit we had, and just sort of like it was just different to what he was used to. We all used to paying for everything ourselves. So yeah, it's just a different setup here, which I think is that's good, has its own uniqueness, I suppose, and the guys all buy into that. It's just what they're used to, and I think one thing, no matter whether we're winning or losing, we always all the Buller cricket teams I played in have all had a sensational culture. So that's that's the most important thing. We try to play cricket hard but enjoy it as well.
I had a night out back in the early 90s with the Buller rugby team and they lifted the Seddon Shield off Marlborough. That was a great night too.
Certainly no. I think most Buller teams know how to celebrate a victory.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic, and you had some good help beforehand too. I understand former Black Caps coach Dennis Aberhart drove over and did some coaching and probably ran some trainings for you. He's a great man, Abbo.
Yeah, bit of a technical advisor was Dennis. I gave him a bit of stick actually just about a month ago. He came out to Rangiora and we'd actually finished for the day, and I said, geez, you've taken the soft road here. Where's that technical advisor gone? No, he did a couple of years with us, didn't he, Andy? He did a couple of 2 or 3 years where he came across and we had a little sort of weekend.
Yes, yeah. The power of white gold for you there, John. The white bait, lures many people in. And Big Den was only too happy to receive a few pound of white bait and came over and just kept us fresh and gave us some insight we really appreciated that, didn't we?
Yeah, 100%. He was there, that whole weekend. He came over a couple of weeks later when we obviously defeated against North Otago, and he was really involved there for that whole sort of month, really. And just great for the guys to, bounce ideas off and just, another viewpoint that we hadn't really seen or heard before.
Yeah, he's a terrific man, Dennis. He's done so much for Marlborough, Canterbury, New Zealand cricket, and obviously from Buller as well, which is brilliant. So nowadays, do you have reunions? You had reunions since?
We had an absolute boomer for our 5-year reunion, John. We went to a test match in Hagley, and Troy was unavailable, and that really stirred the lads up. Look, we were under an alcohol watch before we even got in, and we had T-shirts printed out. And Ian Smith, people have seen this, I'm sure, virally, had made a famous quote, well, we call it a famous quote, on Sky TV when we had just won the Hawke Cup, and he was talking to Ramesh Raja as the Black Caps were playing Pakistan, and he said, I repeat, Buller have won the Hawke Cup. And so we had that screen printed on our T-shirts, and we were there at Hagley having a great old time. And he came there. Troy had organised it from Westport, but he came to see us at lunchtime and was speaking to us, and we had a video made, and again he repeated that line, and gosh, that was just a really special moment as well. So yeah, we certainly, all those videos sort of pop up every year on our social media feeds, and we share them along and reminisce, and yeah, just one of those moments that will always stick with you. Yeah,
you're very lucky to be part of it. Mind you, both of you are one of the major reasons you had that success. And yeah, great to talk to you, fellas. I love stories like this. I mean, they're gold, and I think people will talk about what you've done, just like they talk about Marlborough winning the Ranfurly Shield. I still talk about it. I was there. It's there forever.
People love an underdog. Any time in sport, you think of Japan beating South Africa at the Rugby World Cup, all those games or matches, people love, watching those sorts of results and, talk about them forever. So, it was nice to be a part of it, and nice, I suppose, for, it might be the one and only time, who knows, that Buller gets to them in the Hawke Cup, but at least it's on there now and no one can take it off. So, so that's, we're pretty proud of that.
Exactly. I think the whole of New Zealand are proud of what you achieved. Guys, thanks very much for the chat. Absolutely loved it. I'll probably have replays of my own interview on this one. Don't normally replay my own interviews too much, but this is a cracker. Yeah. No, once again, congratulations. I know it happened 4 years ago, but I'm sure it's fresh in every local cricketer's mind. And as I say, well done. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate, I guess, the chance to relive it and share the story with people who may not have understood or been there or whatever. So yeah, we certainly enjoyed the moment, and appreciate your time allowing us to speak. It's been great.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.